Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a thriller from the UK, English language, released in the year 2018, directed by Timur Bekmambetov, and this film is called Profile. So Profile is about the world of social media and the dangers of social media when they're being used by the terrorist organisations such as ISIS that recruit vulnerable Western women to be their brides. So they use the ISIS propaganda channels that promises a better life over there. So these women get there with the impression that their life is going to be better, but unfortunately they're thrust into a border depravity and they're never heard from again. So an undercover reporter wants to get behind these ISIS propaganda channels and discover the methods that are used in order to get these women there. So it's a massive story, and if she actually makes this story work, it's going to set up her career. So she has to make it out that she is a recent Islamic convert. She sets up a fake account, and pretty soon she gets in contact with a fighter. Now this fighter, she doesn't know too much about him, but the more they talk with each other, the more that bond starts to form, and the more it's likely that she is going to become another statistic. And so whether or not that's the case is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Profile. This is a movie that has been going around the circuit for quite a while, but it's a movie that really wasn't on top of my must-watch list. I saw the trailer and I thought, all right, that looks all right, but it just doesn't look anything that jumps out at me. This idea of a social media sort of film that takes place within a desktop has been done time and time again, so it really didn't have any flair about it that made me want to go and see it. But I thought to myself, I will see it once I get the opportunity. But the reason why I actually wanted to see it was when I discovered Timur Bekmambetov. And so that curiosity really peaked to a point where I actually went out of my way to see it, because Timur Bekmambetov is such a well-established mainstream director. He's directing a lot of action films, action horror as well. In Russia, he made Night Watch and Day Watch that I really appreciated. And so with big budget and CGI effects to come into a lower budget movie, I thought, all right, this is going to be very interesting. And at the end of the day, I will say that what I got was a really disappointing experience. Now, this is a film that has a lot of love behind it, and so each to their own. If you want to express your opinion, please feel free. But for me, if I'm being brutally honest, you guys know that I judge a movie based on what I believe. I definitely felt as though this is a film that lacked the typical Timur Bekmambetov passion. Now, I can appreciate directors trying something different, but this could have been made by anybody. So it could have been a first-time director and you really wouldn't have noticed. So Timur Bekmambetov basically strips away all of his style. And to me, a good director is someone that you don't have to be told is directing it, but you can tell from their style. And so this is a film that is completely out of the realms of Timur Bekmambetov, so it just gave the impression that it was there just to add another film to his filmography and remind people that he's still around without really trying. And so that's something we'll go into a little bit later further down the review. But what I like about the film is the serious subject matter that it's tackling. It is the vulnerability and the manipulation that exists on social media. It's not the first film that's depicted this about the internet, but it's the first real movie that I've seen that actually shows ISIS and what they do to get these brides to come with them. And so the ostracized individuals in the Western world can become victim and also perpetrator. So you're never quite sure what this terrorist is saying. Is it actually a manipulation of the viewer themselves? Because once you tear away that demonized persona, ultimately he is a human being, and so he was a victim of the culture here as well. It's a very cold and materialistic culture in the Western world, not quite as good as everyone makes it out to be, and these ostracized people are ignored. And if you ignore ostracized people, it can be very dangerous, and this is what the film depicts. I thought the script is actually pretty decent. The terrorist named Bilal, I thought what he was saying due to racism and everything like that, it's not condoning what he's doing, but it's giving a reason. And if you give a reason, this is the understanding that, okay, he is a human being, you can't disconnect yourself. So I like films that do that. They don't paint everything in black and white. They actually give you an insight into these demonized individuals, and they are a product of their environment. So the relationship between these two I thought was reasonable enough to keep my interest from start to finish. But unfortunately, the whole film just doesn't feel natural, and the runtime of 80 minutes doesn't allow the film to come out in a natural way. And so it does depict a serious subject matter, but the runtime and this generalization that the film has, it just didn't feel serious enough. And so it really contradicts it. The film is that it has a thrilling sort of fast-paced runtime, but it just never really goes anywhere. It's because this director, you know that this is a director out of his comfort zone, and unfortunately it just doesn't work. I never felt as though this main character was genuinely falling for this terrorist. I always felt as though it would have been a lot better if it was actually a vulnerable individual who wasn't working undercover. Because when you work undercover, you have that sense of control, and unfortunately that sense of control brings that safety barrier that she is a long way away, but you're never really concerned about her safety. and you don't really relate to these people on an individual sense because it just skims the surface. It doesn't go into character development because the 80-minute runtime doesn't allow that to happen. And so I felt as though it lacked that thrilling aspect that the runtime really needed, and it just lacked the human connection. And that is down to the runtime as well. And so the film had that idea that it just didn't execute very well at all, and it meandered along to a very forgettable ending. Apparently this is actually based on a true story, but it's a true story that is told with respect because it's not exploiting it. But unfortunately, it just doesn't really amount to anything. After you watch the film, you will say to yourself, all right, well, this is a serious subject matter, but it wasn't executed in a very good way as far as a movie is concerned, especially if you're a Timur Bekmambetov fan. So no real character development. The overall, the chemistry between these two characters, it was very forced, and so it's no real time and attention to the details. So I never felt that natural connection. And so I always felt as though I was watching a movie that just didn't really have an identity. And so that was my major issue with it. Very forgettable experience. I know, as I said, this movie has a lot of people who like it, so feel free to express your opinions. But for me, this sort of thing has been done before, but unfortunately just doesn't really stand out from the rest. And so it's a disposable thriller that doesn't have many thrills, and overall I'm going to give this film 2.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.